Hey, everybody. My name's Michael Ashley. Everyone calls me MASH, like mashed potatoes. And we're here with another episode of Inspiring Founders, the podcast. Today, I'm talking with Natalia, and she is in Louisville with a great product that she's told me about already called Wild Academy. And I'll let her explain a little bit more about what it is, and we'll go into her journey and her adventure as an entrepreneur with previous startups, software companies that she was able to build and grow and exit, as well as some companies she's working on right now, like co-working space, and this really interesting mission that she's on to support entrepreneurs all over the world with software. And so I'm really excited to have this discussion. Let's get going.
All right, Max, let's do this.
All right, yeah, let's do it. So, it's great to meet you the first time. I don't know how much you know about the Inspiring Founders podcast, but it's a small podcast. I mainly do it for all of the startups that are in my accelerators and incubators, and then I teach at the university, and so all of the students, I make them go and listen to it and everything too. So, it's an educational, inspirational channel, and it's really there to help founders who are growing. And the thing that was interesting about you, I kind of looked a little bit at what you're doing, and you actually serve the same audience. Isn't that true?
Yes, that is correct. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
tell me about you and what you got yourself into, and tell me a little bit about your company.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you a little bit of history and background. So I am originally from Colombia. So I've been in Louisville, Kentucky, out of all places in the world, for the last 25 years or so. Sort of stumbled into entrepreneurship, as a lot of people do, and swore that I wasn't going to do that, and then did. And found my way from, a very creative sort of entrepreneurship background into startups and into VC and all of those other pieces. And so in that journey, particularly not being in the coast, but being here in the Midwest slash Southeast, um, found that I was oftentimes the, first only different woman, immigrant, person with an accent, whatever it was at the time. And I've always kind of had this pull to build as I go, to build the bridge as I go, and so became a calling to create spaces, whether it was in person or virtually, where people that wanted to birth their ideas and bring something to the community or to the world could have that chance to do that together. And so my company, my for-profit company is called Story, and it's a co-working space. We have about 22,000 square feet here in Louisville, and with some plans for expansion and all that. But the thing that connected us was the Wild Accelerator, and that is actually a nonprofit arm of our company. And we have been serving founders from historically marginalized backgrounds, from geographies that oftentimes get overlooked, or what we call a flyover states, um, for the last 6 years, actually going on 7, which has been really nice. And the idea is to do very much, align with what you're talking about, which is to offer not just education and resources, but cash and connections and mentorship and everything that it takes to build a company and not doing it alone.
Wow, that's incredible, actually, because I know how hard it is, one, to start a company, and two, to start a nonprofit, but you're doing both, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, let's dig into the accelerator a little bit because
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
one of the things that I've learned in my journey around accelerators and incubators and the things that founders need is that there really are two types of accelerators. There are the equity accelerators where they say, I'll give you $200,000 for 5% of your company and I'll connect you with everybody I know so we can hopefully make something out of your company. Then there's sort of these other, I would call them maybe experiential learning type of accelerators where they kind of have a curriculum and they sort of help early founders figure things out and learn, how to get their feet on the ground and things like that. What is your accelerator? Is it an equity accelerator or is it more experiential or is there another kind that maybe I'm not thinking about?
That was a really great question. And, this has evolved because, like I said, we're kind of like building as we go. So Wild Accelerator actually started as a female only accelerator. And I wasn't actually even a part of the founding team. It was a different team at the time that came in with this idea. We met through Story. They needed somewhere to host it. And it just started as exactly what you're talking about. But instead of it, because it's a nonprofit, instead of it being like, hey, we're going to take some equity, it was more, hey, let's find you some funding that is non-restricted and that we can make sure that we become a pass through. And so these founders were getting, 25, 50K put straight into their companies through, sponsorships like PNC Bank and larger banks to just sort of go from the as a grant and then help them with some curriculum and some in kind. So that's kind of how it started. The first iteration, we call them seasons. So the first season of Wild was that. And then as things evolved, it became more like, okay, let's figure out some curriculum to kind of go because it was, hell with duct tape and whatever you could do at the time. This is 2018 or so. And then I got involved in season two, on the end of season two, where it felt like they were, struggling with kind of getting funding together, things like that. They kind of talked to me and said, hey, we need some help and some support. And so we ended up buying the assets for the brand and kind of revamping what that would look like. And at the time, it was 2020, and it was, the virtual sort of land of everything that was happening. And so we really took some time to really think about what it needed to be at the time. And again, this was still very small cohort. You had 6 people going through it at this particular time. In the season three was very much about how do we help with everything that was going on at the time, political climate wise. And if you are familiar with Louisville, Breonna Taylor was shot here in Louisville in 2020. So we felt really compelled to do something for the Black women in our community and for the, Latinx women in the community. So we deemed this our Black and Latinx feminine defined season. And so we went forward with that. So we picked 6 women that had startups that we thought could scale and did the exact same thing. We found funding through the state and became some sort of a pass through, but not taking any equity in them, rather using grants to create the programming to support them, to create the connections. It became a holistic approach. So we had, they were going through therapy, through leadership coaching at the same time as they were getting connections and demo day. So we're building them holistically. Some of them needed childcare. That was a barrier, right? To build in these companies. And as a result, many of them, and it was really, truly, we called it an accelerator, but in reality, it was a pre-accelerator because what we found was that they were undereducated at the time, and they were under-resourced at the time. So we had this curriculum we have built and had to kind of pivot and track back a little. We did that with the support of JP Morgan Chase Foundation, who gave us a nice grant to be able to put that together. And it was a great experience. These women were able to get into, some of them were into the Google Accelerator, some of them were into our local sort of larger scale accelerator called Vogue Awards here. We had some of them that participated in Awesome Inc., Reconstruct Challenge. So they all in all raised about $580,000, I think, from the accelerator, which is great for our first iteration run. But we realized that the companies that were applying, the founders that were applying, were still stuck in like a very like small business mindset, or had a concept that could scale, but still didn't quite understand how to do that. And we didn't want to spend that energy in doing it here when we knew that we could scale this piece here and get to more people so that this funnel will become larger. So we iterated and went in and created a academy. So sort of what you're talking about. So we recognize there's a phase one that needs to happen before this phase two we're doing right now. And so phase one became Wild Academy. We launched it in partnership with the Louisville Urban League, which is a local organization and community. We launched it with Simmons College, which is our only HBCU here, and the Well, which is a local incubator. So we knew we already could source a lot of entrepreneurs that were in community without us having to go and gain their trust because they were already with organizations. We actually paid them those organizations and say, hey, pilot this with us. We'll get grants, the larger grants from larger organizations, and help them go through a 6-week curriculum. So we did about 78 founders went through that, and we had a little bit of everything. We also had University of Memphis in that cohort. So that was our pilot to kind of check it out and see how it went. We had it was it was, I'm sorry, it was virtual, but it was 6 week. We had people kind of coming in together once a week to kind of meet up, and that was in 2024, in late 2024, early 2025. And again, with the data, going back and saying, okay, what is this? How did people fare? And we really wanted to get to three outcomes: pivot, kill it, or put some fuel on it, right? And and so we looked at it and said, hey, a lot, like 78%, 75% of people that went through the program said, hey, I really want to do this. I'm going to pivot and put some gas on the pedal. And only a handful wanted to kill it, but that's also great.
Yeah.
It's okay to kill it. Some of them are like, this idea, it's not it. Let's find something else. And so once we got to that, we realized it, and the difference also with our curriculum is that it's very culturally relevant. So it's also filling in gaps and doing things. We realized we had something there, but again, going back to your customer and taking our own medicine and saying what's the feedback, and having the realization that a lot of people, have 3 or 4 jobs, or are taking care of family members, and this format wasn't quite fitting for them. They wanted to complete the modules and do the things, but unable to meet at the same time or whatever. And then we had some that had been in business for a while and didn't need the first 2 or 3 modules, and they wanted to just jump right in. And so there was that tension and that friction. So we said, well, a lot of this can be solved with technology, and so why don't we create a product around it? So we worked on that in 2025 and created Wild Academy as it is right now. And the layer that we put on there is, and I think, I don't know, you tell me how you feel about this, but I think one of the more rewarding, but also more difficult pieces to scale as a mentor and as a person who's helping other founders is time. Like, you can't really sit with every single person that has an idea. You want to, right? And
Yeah.
you want to be able to help out or connect and really do all that. But at some point, you find yourself sort of giving the same advice over and over and over, or saying, "Hey, like, this is go look at these 2 things. Here's this Harvard article, or whatever it is, or if you are like me at all, like, I already have Google Docs of, like, this is where I need you to go and figure this out. Or here's this tech chart resource, or this Y series, or whatever it is."
Yeah.
So we decided to see how we could use AI to leverage that knowledge base, and what we have been doing for many years, and create sort of like a 24/7, always available, very specialized coach, and slash EIR, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word, that if you're I'm getting texts at 11 o'clock at night from founders being like, I don't know what to do. I can't, I'm sure you're right there with me on that, like, where you're getting, the people asking for advice late, and you not being able to do that. So we created Willa as a component to the academy, which again is an AI coach that allows the founder to um, to really, it's just gonna co-pilot with you as opposed to just give you the answers. Really gonna go in here and dig and help you in a very specialized way, as opposed to just doing like a chat GPT, generalized
Yeah.
search. So we had that, and then we created a path generator within the software as well. So if you are like, hey, I don't want to watch 6 weeks worth of curriculum and get the workbooks and do all of that, I'm just here for help with my pitch deck. You can literally go in there and say, hey, I have an investor meetup. Tell me how to do this. And it will create, and it'll say, hey, watch these 3 videos, fill out this worksheet, and you should have everything you need. So we wanted to make it to where people can kind of choose your own adventure if you want to go and explore, if that's the way you learn. And if you are more of a person that needs more hand holding and needed to go through the journey with someone and with the support of someone. Then you have Willa and you have the path creator. Um, and so that's kind of where we took it. So now we have Wild Academy as a phase one sort of educational resource. And once you graduate from that, or you don't actually have to do that in order to be able to come into seasons of the accelerator. We have season five that will be launching in spring of 2027.
Wow.
So we're gearing up to do all of that. And then hopefully in the future, we'll have a fund and do all of that. So
That's amazing. What an incredible story, honestly. And there were so many things that you said that every accelerator experiences, honestly. And it's almost like they have to reinvent the wheel every single time. They all go through the same problem. They're like, okay, I need to get them funding. How do I get grants? How do I go out and find money? Because I want to give them some, non-equity diluting stuff. And then, how do we do this? How do we match them with mentors? How do we deal with the time? Like you solved all of those problems along the way. So I have a question for you as a founder,
yeah,
because I do want
yeah.
to get back into Wild Academy and those things and talk about them. But you're building as you're growing, like you said, and you're eating your own dog food. You're doing the customer discovery stuff. But like
Yeah.
you mentioned some things that are incredibly hard. Like, how did you get JP Morgan Chase? Do you have a team? Did you have to hire people to be on your team so that you had enough bandwidth to go and to do the things that you envisioned? And then how did you fund that for yourself?
Those are all really great questions. And so I want to kind of paint a full picture here of how it all kind of intermingled together, because again, it's all very like part of an ecosystem rather. And so we have our for-profit company called Story, and again, co-working. So if you can think of co-working, there are several revenue streams there that are at space, and so you pay for the space, whether it's memberships or dedicated spaces and bookings and things of that nature. So we have that as our main bread and butter, if you would. But then there's a programming bucket that we have there as well. So because we've been in the community for 10 years, going on 10 years this year. So we have a great established relationship with our, corporate partners here and all the other things. And I've been really lucky to make some great relationships for a really long time. We're kind of like the entrepreneurial hub of our city, if you would, the largest co-working space in all of Kentucky, actually. And we're the home of, all kinds of different things. And so that was, when people talk about network, that is where that comes in, because I built a network of humans that understood that I could execute in a very different way that most other people could. And that I always also was showing up for others while I was doing it. So there was social proof that I could do the thing. And I did have a software company prior to this as well, or alongside all of this. So I had gone through the pain points of growing another company and, again, going through the accelerators and doing all the different things. So I have that point of view, and my community sort of behind me being like, yeah, you can do this. Like, I'm going to open this door and make this introduction for you. So I had that as I guess it's a leg up in a lot of ways. And our team is super small. So Wild as a nonprofit does not actually have any headcount. We have three people on our board. And at some point we have fourth person, but it's all volunteer based. No one gets paid. We're literally here for the founders.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're all founders ourselves, right? And so no board, no staff on this side. But on the story side, our team is small and mighty. We have, operations team that takes care of making sure, everything is ready to go. The coffee's made, the Wi-Fi's good. And then we have one person that does our programming, and then myself. So we outsource things like, bookkeeping and all of that. We don't have that in house yet. And yeah, I don't know if you get into revenue in the podcast as much, but we do about 1.3 million a year right now. That will probably scale over the next few years as we think about creating additional spaces and things like that. But so we don't do a ton of volume. We do a decent amount of volume, but not tons. And so I had the ability to, as CEO, say, okay, what are the relationships are going to matter? How are we going to be able to get this funding? and make that my priority during those years. Um, and so we've had the just sheer fortune of being able to make relationships with like Microsoft. They gave us an early sponsorship, and then again, J.P. Morgan Chase came in with a really nice size sponsorship for both of these
Wow.
programs. And what I wanted to do, I don't the nonprofit. If you're a founder and you're a for-profit founder, the nonprofit model just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's like having to put your hands out. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
we wanted to make something sustainable. We want to find go-to-market strategies that are gonna like, get you money. And so the idea of having to go you know, and grant writing is just it's super time consuming, as you know, and very difficult,
yeah,
competitive, and especially in cities like Louisville, where we have more nonprofits per capita than anywhere else in the
yeah,
nation.
yeah. And
So
they're asking
it's
the same people, right? They're asking the same people for money. So everybody's going to the same people in a tiny little community saying we need help. That's got to be really hard.
what I found surprisingly was that our community, and I don't know if this is unique to Louisville or not. I've never lived anywhere else, but as an adult, but our community had a really hard time sort of getting behind. Like they were here for the connections and things, but when it came to like actually writing checks, we had better odds and luck going to national level partners or regional level partners as well than going to our own community
Yeah.
to look for these things. And I don't know if it's like that everywhere, but that was something that I found surprising. But once I was able to make those relationships and truly show, like, here's our execution, this is what we do, how we do it, and then it just became a sales pipeline, just like anything else. And part of the reason that we wanted to build Wild Academy as a product, as a standalone program, was sustainability. Because with it producing, money, then you don't have to. It's it's evergreen. It's self-producing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is that
You don't
part
have to
of
worry about having to go to these larger organizations all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So Wild Academy, the product, is that part of the nonprofit or is that coming out of story for the for-profit piece? Like how does that connect?
Their relationship, yes. So this is we have a SOW between the company, so it's all very nice on paper. But because Wild does not have any headcount or employees, if you would, any staff, it can't run it. So we do run it through Story with basically a royalty
Yeah,
kind of agreement where the majority of that kind of goes to the nonprofit, and then we're just making
yeah.
sure that we're covering those expenses and
That
doing
makes a
all of
lot of
that. And the
sense.
idea is to create a nice cushion so that all these programs can run, and we don't have to, necessarily
Yeah.
go through the process of writing it every single time. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about Wild Academy, the product, and how that connects with us and kind of how you and I got connected because it sounds like it's potentially maybe you have like a national go to market. You're not restricted anymore to place or time. Is that what it is? And so
Correct.
tell me a little bit about your vision and how it works and how it benefits other people aside from your own particular wild seasons.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had an epiphany, I guess, earlier in like 2023. We were asked by the embassy of the Dominican Republic to go and, but I mean, Wild, to go and do a 3 day sort of conference there to meet with founders in the ecosystem and sort of figure out like what we could bring from the states as a hey, here's how we're doing it. And while I was there with some of the other board members, one of the realizations was like these people in these emerging markets are going through really similar things than we are in not being on the coast or whatever. And these are repeatable problems that are happening everywhere. It is a global issue for emerging markets, but it's also not just for the emerging markets, but the emerging entrepreneurs that aren't necessarily fitting the mold all the time, or that may not come from certain backgrounds, right? So the thought was like, okay, we have been thinking about our little piece of the land, and so how do we kind of blow the walls of this thing and let it go everywhere? And so that was the hey, we can do this through software. We have the ability to do that. Me having had the software company before, I built product before, I know how to scale things. So let's give that a go, right? So that was the ethos of like, how do we make this? And in the process, you are debunking the myth of, and I'm not sure if you heard this in your neck of the woods, but it's one of the things you hear with funders sometimes. It's like, oh, there's just not enough pipeline of great ideas coming from you know entrepreneurs of color, or they're like we wish we would have more entrepreneurs of color, but we just don't have the right ideas or whatever. And so the idea was, how do we debunk that myth? Because we have made this access to these resources so that every middle schooler in America could do this. Every kid in wherever, every founder anywhere in the world could have this ability to just kind of come here and do this. So um that was the ethos of it, of like, let's go everywhere, let's go global. And again, we're still sort of in that early um sort of beta piece of it. We just soft launched it. And so we're doing all of the fun stuff that you do with product, which is, what are the kings, what are things that are working, what's the customer feedback, and continuing to build features on it until we're ready to like really go all the way.
Yeah.
So
So what's your vision? What does all the way look like to you?
To us, I think all the way it's going to mean, can we partner? We always kind of think about, let's go where the water is warm, right? There are already many, many individuals, many organizations that are doing a ton of this work, right? And you have entrepreneur service organizations that are being locally funded. You have universities that are doing this work. You have professors like you that are like, hey, I'm doing this on the side. You have founders that have exited that are like, hey, I'll build this because I want to do it. But what those folks don't have necessarily is the time to just really sit with everybody, or the ability to like sit down and give you the same curriculum over and over and over. So we want to connect with those funnels essentially in a similar way that we did with University of Memphis and the league and everybody else, and say, hey, here's this thing. You can use the built-in curriculum. You can use what's already there. You can add your own thing if you want to. So now it could be, your own brand, and be white label if you want to use it. But this is here, it's available. One of the thoughts we had, and again, if you were asking me like magic one moment, one of the thoughts that we had, and I think would be really interesting, is I love this city so much. I really do. And I thought about, hey, what if we just did a thing where every person that lives in the zip code just gets to come in and do this for free, right? Like there is no barrier. Like if you live in Louisville, Kentucky, this curriculum is yours for free. Wild Academy access for free. Funded by the city, funded by the Chamber of Commerce, funded by whatever. So those are the kind of things. Can we get more cities to adopt a model where it's like entrepreneurship is part of our DNA? Every human that is here, that if you want to start a business, you don't have to go to an agency, you don't have to register for anything. You literally go in here and click once with your Google account, and boom, you have everything you need right on your fingertips.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's the thought.
incredible. That's I think I love talking with you because you're not just a passionate operator of an accelerator. You're a startup founder yourself. And so the message you convey in this, in our little interview is both things. You're mission driven, but you're also building a company, and you're also attacking both of these things, and you're looking at scale, and you're looking at the big opportunity and things like that. One of the things that comes up as I'm listening to you, and having done both incubators and accelerators at universities and within cities and with private groups, it's always comes down to the funding. Like you said, if anybody wants to do this, funded by the city or funded by this the chamber or whatever, but that part is not easy. So how do you help small cities, maybe tertiary markets, who say, you know what, we would love to implement this. Let's open up Wild Academy to everybody. Let's get some mentors in here, so we can have a season or whatever model they can do. But then they're going to say, I don't know how to fund it. I can't get the city. The city
Mhm.
says we're over budget. We don't have money. The chamber says, we don't have enough members. Nobody comes. The SBDC says, we can't give you any money, but you can send people to us as advisors. Like, everybody has an excuse why they can't give you money. What do you say to a tertiary market that says we would love to, uh, open up the entrepreneurial ecosystem to everybody and not be, only for wealthy or privileged people anymore, but we can't get the money to do this?
So there's a few different things. One, and again, part of the thing that we're bringing in is we know how to partner with these larger corporates that do want to be in their communities and do something with their community. So I'll give the example of JP Morgan Chase because it's our largest funder. But they're based out of Columbus, Ohio. And so one of the conversations that we've been having is like, well, how do we, now that we have this product, how do we go to Columbus, Ohio and say, hey, you get scholarships, I can fund 1 million scholarships or, whatever. The product is priced in such a way. I mean, it's $29 a month for however long the entrepreneur is on there. So you can really, really impact a huge number of humans for not a lot of money. So even if this was not funded by the our entrepreneur services organizations or the universities or some corporate or the city, we still have an individual can jump in here, play in the freemium model that we have. Is literally free. You can just walk in there, do your account right now, don't have to pay a penny, and work for this and get what you need. But you're going to pay for a certificate or you're going to pay for whatever other add-ons you want to put on there. Like if you want to get the physical workbooks or merch or things like that, and that will keep it going.
Yeah.
So we price it in a way that's sensible, so anyone can still, it's super accessible. And the thing that we haven't introduced yet, but we're working on is a pay what you can model. Because we know that there are going to be some humans out here that are going to benefit greatly from this that may come from a background where they can pay a lot more money than
Yeah.
others. And
Yeah.
some people that will never be able to pay. So um, there's all those pieces in place to be able to make sure that it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive to make a ton of money doing this and scale it and make it sustainable, but also do what's good, right?
I
Do
love
what's
it.
good.
Yeah, I love it. And I love the way that you think about it. And I mean, even like a pay it forward type of model, I mean, all the
Mhm.
options you can for people who say, you know what, I can afford $29 a month, but I'll give you $50 a month. Like you're saying, pay what you can, but,
Mhm.
that gets allocated to some other, thing. But um, Natalia, I am so excited that we met, and I would love to talk to you even more about it, especially, more about sort of your founder journey and those other things. But this was a
For sure.
great interview, and I loved to talk with you. I'm going to stop the recording right now, but thank you
Yep.
very much.
Thank you.